since Stina is a fantastic, unstoppable power plant, this is why I'm really happy to introduce Stina Ehrensvärd, CEO Yubico.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Stand a little taller. Doesn't mean I'm lonely when I'm alone.
So I was invited here to share some of my entrepreneur adventures. And this is my first advice. If I had listened to all great advice I had received, I would not be on this stage today. Know yourself and what works for you. I went to college to study industrial product design, and I have for the last 10 years worked closely with Jacob. He's a brilliant electronic computer engineer, and we have been working together with high-tech innovations. Jacob is also my husband and the father of my 3 children. So in one of the projects, we were exposed for the challenges of online identity fraud, and we learned that about $1 trillion is lost every year online. And as we thought that there could be much better use of this money, I was inspired to start a company that eventually would enable you to have one single key and one single password to log into the entire internet. With a vision to be ubiquitous, we named the company Yubico. When developing a product, it can actually be quite helpful to start talking to customers. And it doesn't matter if you eventually end up with a completely different invention as long as someone is willing to buy it. So this one was our first security invention. It was a little card in the size of a credit card that you place on a contactless reader, and it has a little keypad on it. And the users enter the PIN on the card, which would prevent it from being hacked by malware. And we thought this product was brilliant. Until we showed it for an online bank, and they were not at all excited. They said it was too big, too clunky, and too expensive. So we developed a little USB key with the keypad on the key. But the bank was still not excited. They said, well, they had millions of end users sitting on different computers, platforms, and browsers. And they said if they would require a client software, they would have hundreds of people on the support line. So I turned to Jacob with one simple question. This client software is apparently a problem. But how come I don't have to install anything when I plug in my USB keyboard into my computer? And with that question, Jacob found the solution to the problem. This is how the YubiKey looks today, which is basically an authentication device that pretends it's a USB keyboard. The little gold area is a touch button, and when you touch it, it sends a long encrypted passcode as it was typed in from a keyboard, but all automatic. And you don't need any client software. This particular version actually also have a wireless connection. And this design, also developed in close collaboration with customer, is so small that it fits inside the USB port. I have found that teamwork is the most rewarding part of creating a business. And I cannot mention all the amazing people that have joined my team. But I'll mention the 2 first to come on board. Now we had the YubiKey invention. We went back to the bank, and we showed it. And they said that they were willing to pilot it if we could present a security report from a trusted third party. And I was fortunate to be introduced to Simon. Simon did not only write an excellent report. He also joined the team as security architect and as angel investor. The next person we hired was a beautiful woman named Lee, and she helped us with the financials and the administration. And these are things that I'm really bad at, and I find really tiring. And here was a woman who actually liked it. For her, bookkeeping, getting these numbers, in the right columns, was like Sudoku. The first team members, we had the basics, the 3 basic critical functions for a tech company to start to function. I was the evangelist and door opener. Jacob and Simon got the product to work, and Lee took care of our books. So everything was in order. So everyone will know when you start a company that things will go wrong. You will have challenges. But what I've learned that some of the challenges have actually become my biggest blessing. And the best example is from the global launch of the YubiKey in 2008 on top of an escalator in San Francisco. So we went back to the bank with a security report that Simon had done. And the bank said that this was a very clever invention. They were willing to pilot it if we first could prove it somewhere else with at least 50,000 users. Okay, so we went to other banks, we went to other businesses, and for several months, we couldn't find anyone who wanted to try our technology unless someone else had proven it. So finally, there was a large US security company that was willing to license our technology. And this partnership was going to be announced at the leading security trade shows in San Francisco. The same day I arrived in San Francisco, they had fired the CEO, and the new CEO had canceled our collaboration plans. There I was at this big trade show. There was no partnership, no booth, no press release, almost no customers, very little money on my bank account. It looked quite bad. Until the last day, a really clear thought came to me. Here, at this conference, there is probably 100 journalists, and they're all looking for the new cool security product to write about. But they don't know I'm here, so I'll have to find them myself. I figured out that the best location to find the journalists would probably be the press room. And on top of an escalator, I saw the first journalist with a press badge. 2 weeks later, a podcast went out to 100,000 people and 100,000 listeners and security geeks. And this is a quote from the podcast. And the really bizarre thing was that the last day of the show, I met this woman on an escalator. And she showed me a little USB key. It's a YubiKey. It was so cool. It was the coolest new product on the show. So most of our interaction in Yubico has been done over email and over online purchases. And as a small company, you cannot afford to not have happy customers. We responded to everyone who came to us as they were kings. And I'm going to share with you one email that I received in 2009 from a guy named Larry. Good morning. I just canceled an order for one of the YubiKey devices. I canceled because a $25 item incurred a $15 shipping and handling charge. It's not my business, of course. Nonetheless, I would like to know how you in good conscience justify to charge and ship a small USB key-like device. So we responded, "Dear Larry, thanks for your interest in our technology. In addition to the expedited shipping, we offer a $5 option for standard mail. And as a thanks for pointing out that we need to clarify this on our website, we'll send you a free YubiKey with no shipping cost." And this is how Larry responded. "Dear Yubico team, I admit that I spaced out the $5 charge. My apologies. And you've certainly embarrassed me by your offer to provide a free key. I will order and pay 1 unit and the $5 shipping. If you elect to provide a free unit, I will pass it on to my partner who works for a major US bank in software development." That bank later became our customer. The other email conversation I want to share, just because it's so crazy and fun, came from a sysadmin from a leading university. And the email heading was, "My dog just ate my YubiKey. Please advise." And this support email resulted that Yubico became the first hardware authentication company that actually went through the ultimate durability test. No animals or YubiKeys were harmed. In 2011, we started to get customers, a few orders from the internet giants. And when they came in, I knew that this was the time to move. I mean, I have never been very good at writing long business plans, and this one was no exception. And in one-page PowerPoint presentation, I summarized the business logic why Jacob and I needed to relocate to Palo Alto in the heart of Silicon Valley. So, we were a small company. We did not have any major venture funding. At the time, we were only 12 people, and we could not afford to set up a large global sales team. But if we focused to work closely with a handful internet thought leaders, we could scale our technology to 1 billion internet users. I get a lot of pushback. Some thought there was a big risk in moving. But I responded that there was no other growth plan. There was no other cost-efficient way to become ubiquitous. About a year after we had moved to Palo Alto, we signed a partnership with Google to develop a new global authentication standard. The project is called U2F, Universal Second Factor, and is one of the standardization initiatives in FIDO Alliance. The 17 board members include Google, eBay, MasterCard, Visa, Microsoft, and Yubico. So, we're getting close to the ultimate vision that Yubico had, enabling one single secure key to the entire internet. We have sold millions of these devices now in 130 countries. For several years, scientists could not explain how a bumblebee could fly because they were too furry, too big, too round, and had too small wings. Now we know that bumblebee flies in a very different way, in a really cool, sort of helicopter-style way. And just like the bumblebee, I did not have the traditional features to make my business fly. I went to art school. I was the mother of 3 children. I'm partly sighted. I can't drive a car. I don't know how to write a business plan and had no management training. But I had one thing, except for a very good engineer by my side, is that I was fearless enough to try. So I want to end this presentation with a word to all of you entrepreneurs out there. Don't let anyone else define what you can and you cannot do. Trust your gut and do it. Thank you.